Hey, everybody. There seems to be like a really huge lag. All right, I just started the recording. There seems to be a really huge lag with YouTube here. Let's see. I'm going to try and have it set up like I usually do with it. Oh, come on. With the chat so I can see it a little bit better. I have to play with the windows and whatnot, but and then so the camera is here and my Zoom window's here, and then I have the chat. So hopefully this will kind of work out. I mean, I can shift the screen. Anyway, it's kind of a logistical mess right now. And yeah, I mean, really don't know what the heck is going on here. Oh, why did the recording stop? The disk space is insufficient. All right. So record to the cloud. I'll end up probably with this recording on YouTube. I'll probably just go right from YouTube and download it from there because this has been absolute mess. I've dumped a whole bunch of stuff off my, more tech issues, right? And I have a very nice computer, so I just have to have some external space for it. I'm figuring it out. This is not my forte. Oh my gosh. I had a few things here. The one thing I thought was kind of important is this was from the 3rd. Today is the 6th. Happy birthday to my mom, who has not been with us for many, 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 many years. But I think about her every day. Anyway, shout out to Ma. So, okay, balance and the empty cup. Can we give more than we have? Is that even possible? And how do we give when we feel we have nothing? Because I've been hearing that a lot, with the self-care and all that sort of thing. Oh, sorry. My bad. Microphone's all the way over there. Anyway, so just with, can we give from an empty cup? Can we give more than we have? And how do we give when we feel we have nothing? Not sure. Not sure how that works. Because there have been plenty of times when we think we've got nothing left to give, and the next thing you know, we get that surge of energy. So I'm kind of feeling like it's a belief, part of our BS, part of our belief system, that we talk ourselves into. We don't have enough, we aren't enough. That doesn't mean that we should, extend ourselves like I almost did. Made myself very, very sick with committing to a lot of people and things. And it's, I'm one of those people that has a hard time saying no. So working on that, I don't, it's going to be different for everybody. But I guess that was part of it. So 2 days later, which was yesterday morning, really, because today's the 6th. Then this was about 7:32 yesterday morning. I heard this morning about embracing a silent solitude. And we kind of touched on it last night on Oracle Stones about, the solitude and, it's okay to isolate. And, you can be regimented and say that I need to do this X amount of time, but also be open to when someone's telling you that you're approaching an unhealthy thing. Period of time. It's good. I mean, and there was something that was brought up in the chat by one of the individuals that, if you're isolating and you are not isolating, you can self-isolate and be in a room full of people. You can be with someone and feel completely separate. That's not what we're talking about. That's completely different. There's some healing that needs to happen if there's a relationship where you feel alone when you're with that one person. If you're in a room full of people and you feel alone or feel lonely, you've got some healing to do. You know, because I've been there, and you have to be comfortable with yourself. Hi, E. um, but yeah, isolation, I think, can be a dangerous thing. It can also be something that's good. So if you lose your appetite and you have some other things that are going on, um, that's okay too, because hang on one second here. Isolating and not eating is a whole nother gig. So your body wants to, especially when you're under stress. So especially when you're doing something, if you're grieving, that's okay. Your body's paying attention to some of the stress that you're trying to deal with, and it's okay if your appetite's reduced. The only thing that you really have to watch out for is hydration. So, and seek grief counseling if you have to. I think most people have had some sort of a family or friend loss already. So this is about embrace the silent solitude. Basically, when we embrace the silent solitude, it means that isolation should be sacred and treated as such. Just think of all the chaos we have to manage or deal with in our world today. It really is a time when we see this isolation, that there's a refinement process that we're being asked to look at. So looking at yourself, removing those energies, because I have to do a lot of that before I start these, especially if I had a really good conversation with somebody this morning, had a lot of fun. Um, but I think that in and of itself, even though it was a lot of fun, I have to segregate myself from that and being detached from that. And other people that you might have running through your head, as it were, you still have to segregate that part of you. The image, okay, so this is what the image that came up. The image of honing a knife, it feels like something that's done very possibly in a more chaotic or open active process to sharpen your skills. So that's when we're out, we have friction, we have all this. That's when we're sharpening our skills. But if you've ever had any kind of learning about what happens in a honing process, is when it's a knife, there are very small burrs that collect on the steel itself and on the blade edge. And even on the stone, if you have a stone that you're using to sharpen with a little bit of water or oil, whatever you're going to use, you still are collecting burrs on those surfaces. And when the honing stops and the sharpening stops, you need to take the time to clean off the blade and clean off the stone. And that's kind of what that isolation might feel like, is cleaning it off, getting clarity. And it doesn't happen with just one wipe when we're talking about something that's our character. And it really is a process, and it allows us to embody the edge that we've created with whatever it is that we're trying to hone. So here's a caveat though. So when we are in that quiet time, at least this is the flip side to this, is that oftentimes we're not there to be sharpened as a knife, but we're there to embody those parts of ourself that need to be more rounded and softened. Though those feel like more that there are times that are more difficult and possibly even more challenging to discover what those areas are that we need to soften, because they're more calloused areas. So when we have that isolation process and take a deeper look, it's sometimes difficult to get through the calloused areas. And I don't know, I don't like people touching my feet. People go for pedicures and they have those things that kind of take the calluses off your feet. That's what, then they of course do all whatever they do, and but here's the thing, is that the calloused areas of who we are is what we've developed for protection and comfort. So you don't necessarily have to remove them, but you have to soften them a little bit. They're still there, but you can soften them a little bit. They're necessary, but it can also be pliable and not invasive. I hope that kind of makes sense, but whatever. I'm just trying to figure out everything else like everybody else. Hi, Jay. Yeah, send me, yeah, let me put something in the chat for you. So let's chat, Jay. Send me a Facebook message. If, cause, I want to kind of focus on the idea that I think that whole thing about the empty cup and spending that alone time, I think that's kind of where that popped up at because of the dichotomy of having that empty cup. But if you dump a cup out, I don't know if you've ever done that. I sure have, where you dump the cup out and then you set the cup down and you're doing whatever you do and you pick up that cup. There's still some stuff that has been clinging to the sides and it's at the bottom. So that's the respite side. When we take that empty, we think we're empty and we sit, we do have that little bit in there. Are we supposed to give from that or are we supposed to take the time to refill? I don't know. This is going to be, in and out. It's going to be different for different people at different points. I'm going to take it, Lisa. And so let's go over to the cards. And I think that this is something that's pervasive, that people are going to find themselves potentially burning out. I almost did a little over a month ago. So it's really important that we stay focused and pay attention to what our bodies are telling us. It's also, we need to support that. That was me giving from really, I think it was somebody had their bread and was dipping it in that cup and kind of emptying that. So I had to back off on some of my 3D stuff and kind of figure out how I can rebalance all of this along with the physical supports that I needed. Anyway, having said that, there's also that spiritual and psychological side that we can convince ourselves we got something going on and we kind of don't. We're just kind of stressed out of things that we haven't cleared off, honed out. We can hone that knife, we can hone that, soften the calluses, but we're not really taking care of the cleanup part. And that's where the isolation even could be coming, because the other areas are more action based and the others are more like a respite type of thing. I don't know. So let's flip over to the board. And I've already cleared the board. I've already said what needed to be said. I've shuffled the decks. Again, I have not been able to figure out how. Hey, it only twitched once, but once I get my hand over there, it's probably going to have a little bit of a hissy fit. So here we go. All right. And for me, this is clockwise. I think it's for you guys. It's clockwise as well. And if anybody, I will do my level best to, keep an eye on that chat. If you guys have any questions or need any other information as far as, I got to start doing the signs again. I feel like that's something that is going to be a little more helpful, but I don't have the time right now. 'Tis the season for me anyway, because I was doing charity work as well. Something to do as I was resting, right? So yeah, we do have some full cups. So if we are going to go through that process, we are going to have the full cups. When we have our cups full, this is something that we have access to right in the here and now. I think most of us are here. If you're not, this is what you need to be doing. Look at that. Even the Queen of Cups. So she can be kind of flighty, I think. I feel like, I mean, this is,
I have Cancerian in my chart, and I feel like that this is maybe where taking that time to kind of chill. Uh, this guy is ready to go. He's ready for another gig, and he's got her standing by. She is definitely a queen of light, ready to go. Oh my God. So what do we have backing that up, y'all? So the star for me is she's got a big cup. And with that big cup, too, there's some vulnerability with this. Cuz she's stepping out. She knows she is. Unlike this one who can get a little overly emotional, but she's flanked by the star. So willing to share that vulnerability, but also knowing that when we do that proper cycle of that rest, recovery, and then repeat and going out and doing what needs to be done with whatever it is that we've chosen to do, here's the control. So that to me is the Hierophant, and he's the one here who I feel like he is going to be the result of this process. Because he's just standing there. He's standing. She's sitting, but she's raising her cup as an offering, and this one is now moving over. This feels like it's a real process, and maybe that's the refilling of the cup, the energy, the love space that we might have. Rest, rinse, and repeat. So once we get to that, we're going to have to take the resting time, and it feels like maybe it's more like that, you know? Be aware that this is also a cycle. And once this is taken care of here, if we don't do this and keep this moving, we're not going to reach that point of being helpful. So this is a Three of Swords, which I really didn't expect. Because there's obviously, a lot of forward movement. And the swords here, there's something about a trilogy. So it's like a rinse, recycle, repeat. Well, I need clarity on that, please. That's kind of befuddling to me, you know? Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so six of swords. So so that makes a lot more sense because with the four, if we don't get our rest, we're going to hit this. This is what we're going to hit if we don't do the rest that we need. If we do overgive, we're not going to have our big cup to pass on to do the work that needs to be done. And what this whole process is doing is allowing us to be a bigger benefit to those around us. This is like a real healing. I feel like there's a lot of healing that needs to go on. I know that with a lot of the energies, I don't know astrology super well, but I do know that there is a lot of cosmic shift going on. And when there's the shift, I envision where there's things being sifted out the bottom that no longer help us. It's not something that's going to be needed. Oh my gosh. And I think the nine, we got the nine again. So yeah, so it's like when we keep this healthy, we keep the process healthy, this is going to keep us going in that direction. I kind of feel like, well, what is it then that this is all about? Because a lot of this has to do with maybe our work life, our relationship with our families. I have a lot of things that go on at work. So it might even be things like that. It's going to be different. I feel like it's going to be different for everybody. So there's a trilogy. There's a lot of love here, y'all. A lot of emotional. Oh, I didn't expect that word to come in. A lot of emotional baggage that we need to kind of. Okay, that makes sense. All right. So old wine in new wineskin. So if you don't empty the old wine out, we are going to have some of these issues here. But this is working with yourself and with others and making the connections that you need to make to lift you up. Transparency is going to be really important. I think we're going to struggle with this. We're going to have more of this going on if we aren't transparent. Because I'll tell you, we're going to have things revealed, whether we intend to reveal them or not. I've been able to see a lot of things people going on in people's lives that they don't come out and say, but it's there. You can see it. Yep, and it's going to move quick. And you're going to have to give up some of that control. Another Cancerian card, 7. Yeah. Well, these don't have numbers on them, but that's what that is. But if we can embody that and embrace that, we are the ones in control. We are the ones who are driving our own bus. We can, blame or say, I feel this way because you said this, but I'm sorry. We are still, and I'm not sorry. Truly, we can embody those feelings by choice. We're permitting others to make us feel a certain way. We feel a certain way because we are permitting. And it's not an easy thing to adjust to, having that responsibility within ourselves. So there's the 3 of Swords. As I'm talking about that, that's kind of an affirmation to that. When we take ownership of what we have running through our heads and taking care of that honing process, this is when the messages are going to come through, and they're going to come through hard and fast, remembering that we are the ones in control. We can blame other people, and we need to change our terminology. I'm in the middle of doing that right now. I don't feel like this has anything to do with money today. We did touch on that last night with Stone. I was more concerned about the money part of it. Don't dwell on the past. It's okay. I deal with people who have a lot of, and this is a clinical term, complex trauma. The thing is with the complex trauma, this is not a rinse process. It's a recycle and repeat. There's no rinsing that goes on. The past is always there, and it's always a trigger. But as soon as we're able to at least process things on the surface and get deeper as time goes on, we can't dwell there. It's okay to have it there. It's okay to remember it, but we don't want to stay there. It's okay to be sad. Like, I'll use a simple example, like losing a parent or someone who was close to us, and it's okay to grieve. You just don't want to stay there. You have to have a healthy way of processing this stuff. If you need grief counseling, reach out to your local professionals. There are a lot of support groups, a lot of them. If you need help with that, I can help you find that. Staying grounded is going to be really important as well. And, that's kind of a funny picture there, hugging a tree, but that really does work. I go out in the yard and I just take the shoes and socks off. It's going to be cold, but I'm still going to do it. I've been out there when the ground is frozen hard and I'm in my bare feet, and it feels really good till you start losing feeling in your feet. All right. So what else? Gratitude, appreciation. People will let you know, you need to let yourself know that you need to enjoy you. You need to express love within you. And I did have a conversation, oddly enough, about that with somebody earlier today. It's like, heal your own. And I think we talked about that even last night. Heal your own self. Have the best ever relationship with yourself. I typically don't go out and do things by myself. That might actually happen today. All right. I need to know what this is about. So one of the other things that I think I need to do, that maybe this is a reminder to do this, is there's a lot of online, I'm going to use the word trickery, but you can kind of put the prefix on there that is a little more coarse language. But there are people that seek us out, search us out, and they do profile creeping. They look for blocked content and blocked contact, and they search our profiles. And this is not necessarily for good. I'm okay with people trying to figure out if I'm okay. That's cool. That's why I post things that are public on my, that's for public consumption on my website. If you want anything more than that, you're going to have to private message me, and I have no problem helping people out. I'm pretty transparent, but I also keep those conversations private. If you do not keep our conversation private, I will probably end up restricting our talking with you in future, because I'm very, very sensitive to people looking at me. That's kind of a thing, has been since I was a kid. I was really into music, and I'm telling you right now, I was in that orchestra pit. I was not up on that stage. I was definitely not the one who wanted to be the focus of attention. So this is part of my healing, doing this. This is part of I hear other readers tell me that I need to get out there and I need to be seen. Well, today you're going to see my hands. All right. Anything else? What can we add to help with this? Transparency, with keeping health. This is like healthy boundaries with ourselves and with others, right? Just trying to figure this all out with everybody else, And that's kind of the cool part of doing this, is that I'm learning a lot too. 3 from the top. Like, okay. So this came up yesterday, rock bottom. And I think with the rock bottom, I have to look it up because this was Johnny on the spot. Where is this? So rock bottom, card 10. This is about surrendering, and acceptance are the keys to freedom. And that's this whole thing too, with resting, relaxing, recovering, that is where we need to do that, because that's hard for a lot of us to do, is the resting, relaxing, and recovering. It's always go, go, go. I have a friend who is Capricorn, and they're always working. They're always busy doing this, that, and the other. And I'm lucky to see her once a month. So yeah. Bone collector. Oh gosh, this is like the high, what is that? Like the magician kind of a card, yeah? This is card number 1. I have to look at this. So card number 1, bone collector. You are whole and have everything you need within. Okay, so this comes up a lot too, that we have all these things that we create blockages, or that we allow ourselves to feel like we're disconnected, but we're not. There's a restricted flow. I know someone likes to say a stuck state, but I feel like it's just a restricted flow problem. If you need help, and I highly recommend this, I don't care who you are, what level of practice you're in, we all need to support each other with keeping this energy flow going. How else are we going to stay connected? How else are we going to get connected if we don't put this stuff out there? Yep, that's what's going to happen. We're going to get stuck in the mud. And that bird, I think, is probably going to be an inspiration. That's kind of telling me that we need to pay attention to some of the signs and symbols. Sometimes, I mean, you just see crows on the move right now, and this is kind of like, that's not a crow. I don't know what kind of bird that is. Let's see what she says about it. Invited to stop and savor the wonder of your life. So that, okay, that is stuck states, but also this is now making a reference to making sure that we're going to rest. It's about that grieving and not living there, processing the grief, processing the trauma. And I would love to talk to somebody about complex trauma and the depths of healing that's involved, because when you have a traumatic event that's major, the trauma doesn't stop with that one thing. There are layers that keep building on that really, really horrific event. So it's a full-on, full-time, lifetime effort to stay stable for some people. All right, one more. Okay. And I love, oh, two more. There you go. Transition. The frequency of transition supports our deep understanding of the ever-changing nature of existence and our lives, so that we can learn to let go. Wowzers. Surrender to the process and allow transition to occur with ease and grace. I don't think we can do this by ourselves, right? I don't think, and I would highly recommend that when you see this card, stop the video, do a thingy. I do like I use a snipping tool, and I will look at these, because even when you have like a crystal, so if you look at a crystal and you see it online, you say, oh, I would really love to have that. You can embody that with just the image itself. You don't have to know anything about it. You just have to know it. Embody it. So communication, we're going to have to keep the communication lines open. This is this whole thing of making the transition into communicating more with each other in a healthy way, being open to other people's ideas without judgment. That's a huge thing for me. Let me read it. The frequency of communication supports our ability to exchange information in many different forms. It reminds us to run every piece of information, both incoming and outgoing, through our heart, the center of our truth, to stay in the flow of source and balance exchange. Incoming and outgoing. Run every piece of information, exchanging information in many different forms. There was a thought in my head as I was reading that, and I'm not sure that it's going to come back. And all of this, I think, encompasses this universal love. The frequency of universal love activates the connection we feel to each other, our planet, and to the whole of existence itself. Oh, that felt really good just to say that. This is all of us. And I feel like that there are going to be a lot more people that are going to pick up on what's said here through other mediums, modalities, from themselves. But I feel like putting this into the ether is one way to open that conduit to allow other people. I just had a vision of a copper tube with just perforated with holes, because it's going to go through it with a force, but it's also going to be spread out in a more general way. It is definitely about making a communication process, being willing to make the transition or the shift into, yeah, big time exchange of information. Does anybody else, I'm going to switch the camera over. Does anybody else want to have any kind of reading done? I have an oracle deck here that I had kind of set up that is kind of lonely at this point, but just an overarching idea of keeping communication lines open, not just with ourself and our higher self. Wow. Higher power, y'all. That's what this is going to lead to, is a greater connection. whether it's within yourself or through someone else or something. There's just going to be something that's going to pull us all together, but and I don't like the word ascension. It's really more about an expansion. Yeah, it's like that balloon. And depending on what gas you put in it is going to depend on where it goes and how it expands. But anyway, that's that. I like that. That was kind of a fun little thing there. Well, I hope this was helpful. I will do my level best once I get my tech stuff issued, resolved. I'll go ahead and see what happens from that. Maybe I'll be able to start doing more readings. Right now, there are other things that are going to take priority. We got a lot of holidays coming up here in the States too. So anyway, thanks so much for stopping by. And I guess we'll kind of see everybody on a flip side. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna just make it all happen. See y'all later.